Redneck.
Shucky footage. All right, welcome back. Fourth and final segment of the TD show today. Been a busy morning. Had a lot of sports news to cover. A lot of things going on. I guess we're going to kind of get it wrapped up here. We got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about some local sports, maybe a little hunting. Big news going on in the state of Kentucky as far as hunting goes. Opening up some new options for coyote hunting. Coyote hunting is a growing sport across the nation. Probably one of the fastest growing hunting sports, hunting outdoor lifestyle events, I guess, that in the country at the moment. Lots of electronic calls, making it easier on everybody. Pretty exciting, kind of like turkey hunting. You can do it year round. Now we're going to be able to do it at night. Tell us what we just found out about that, TJ.
Well, essentially, it's a solution to a problem.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a large growing problem with coyotes on rural farms, but not just that. I mean, there's been spottings of them in big cities like Louisville, Lexington, Frankfort now. So they basically got together, Fish and Wildlife and other departments of the government throughout Kentucky got together and said, what can we do to solve this problem? And somebody was like, well, we could probably let them hunt them year round at night.
Right. What had to happen for this to happen was there had to be a law passed through the General Assembly in Kentucky, make it through the House and the Senate, and it did. But the law did the right thing and said, look, we don't know the answer. We're going to make it legal. We'll let KFDW set the rules and regulations on what you should do to make it safe, make it fair, and make it not interfere with any other hunting activities, and try to minimize illegal actions that might be taken as the people wanting to maybe poach deer or other things and use this coyote night hunting as an excuse.
Right, and there's only a certain time of the year in which you can use lighting. Do you remember?
Yeah, February 1st through the end of May, I think, you're the only time you're allowed to use lights. What this coincides with is usually through the middle of January towards the beginning of February, white-tailed deer bucks will shed their antlers, makes them less desirable for poachers that are looking for antlers. The reason this would be a problem, as anybody around here knows, if when light gets in a deer's eye, the way it works, they illuminate through the back of their eye where they can pick up a lot more light than we do, and it blinds them. They can't see. Makes it easy for people to poach them. So they're putting this at a time where maybe people won't be tempted. They won't see that big rack and think, man, I sat out in the cold all winter, didn't see anything. Now I've got this big deer in front of me. So hopefully it'll go over well. We won't have any kind of problems with it.
I mean, basically it works out well for two parties. You've got, the people who don't want the coyotes around their property. You're taking care of them, and then you got the people that, hey, I want to hunt some coyotes year round. You're taking care of them too. So killing two birds with one stone.
Another thing is Kentucky, we've become the leader in white-tailed deer hunting in the nation. We've got more Boone and Crockett entries, which is, the world-renowned expert on trophy quality scoring in Boone and Crockett system than anywhere else in the world. And as our coyote population goes up, the fawn hatch every year, the fawns that are born are going to go down. And that's going to limit the amount of deer that we have and the amount of trophy growing potential that we have. Another thing, an interesting fact about it, and I didn't know, I guess because I've only been around for 25 years, but we didn't always have coyotes. They started coming west in the 50s and didn't make it over here until like the early 70s, late 60s. There was a great freeze, great blizzard, frozen Mississippi, and they actually were able to walk across on ice, and all this rapid population and all this population increase that we've seen has only been in the last 40 years or so.
I'd imagine that's how the armadillos got here too.
I
Not
don't
that
know.
we're trying to hunt them, but
No.
just,
Yeah.
But nobody's seen those until last year.
Yeah,
too
recently.
much. Yeah. Just something I want to touch on while we're outdoors. We asked the first episode, and I'll ask again, if you have pictures of deer or any other game you've killed this past year, send it to us. We'll get it up on our Facebook poll. We'll get you some recognition. We'll talk about it on here.
Yeah, well, we know a lot of people out there like to hunt. If you don't like to hunt, that's no big deal. But we do have a lot of people out there that like to hunt. Lots of things going on. So if you do, let us know, and we'll be glad to talk about it. If you got any kind of outdoor activity that you like to do, you like to fish, maybe you have a story, call and let us know.
Yeah,
Send us a
that'd be
text or
good.
tweet or email. We'd love to get more involved in the outdoor side and talk about things a little more, just because there's not really a platform for people to
That's
talk
right.
about this kind of stuff around our area.
All right, staying local, we'll talk a little high school basketball now. Both the Hornets and the Lady Hornets were in action last night. Both got defeated by Adair County. The Hornets fell 50-62, and then the Lady Hornets fell 39-59. And I actually didn't get those scores from KHSAA. I just want to give a little shout out to Tim McMurtry, Coach Mack, who always tweets the scores. That's where I got those. I appreciate you keeping everybody in the know there.
Yeah, I didn't make it over to Adair County last night. I go to a lot of high school games, but I didn't make it to Adair County last night. I did listen to it on the radio. Boys played first. Kind of threw me off when I turned it on. I didn't realize the boys playing first, but the boys played first. As always, played hard. Can't fault their effort at all. Just a young and kind of a small team, but they're getting a little better. Their averages are coming up. Tonight we've got a home game, and we love to see everybody get out there.
I know we'll both be there.
We'll be there.
Of course, you'll be announcing.
I'll be talking. So if you're tired of listening to me, you might want to bring some headphones so you can listen to Glenn and Mike on the radio and don't have to hear my voice. But we'll be there tonight as they take on South Warren. We'll talk about that a little bit. South Warren boys, first we'll talk about. They come in with a record of 8-9. They're averaging 55 points a game. The points a game have really fallen off for South Warren. They've been in a slump. They started the season 6-2. Since then, they've lost a lot of games. They're 2-7 over their past 9 games, and they were averaging about 72 points a game while they were winning those first 6 games and the first 2 losses. They're averaging 72 points. Now they're only averaging 55. They're in a downswing. They're still averaging more than our boys, who are only averaging 46 points per game. But we've lost 3 in a row. We're coming back home. Haven't been home since the Christmas tournament. Been a little over 2 weeks now. We've got a team that's slumping, having some trouble. I really do think this is a momentum changer. We've got an opportunity to come in and win the game.
Yeah, I feel like this is a game that we both think that they have a good chance of winning.
I do. I honestly believe they have a legitimate chance to win. What it's going to take to win is to hit key shots, make free throws. We get to the line a lot. We're big. We're strong. Not in a basketball sense, and we're not big in a tall sense. We got wide, farm strong boys.
Football strong, as I like to call
it. They get to the line a lot. Sat down and knocked down those free throws. Hopefully we can do that tonight, take care of them. Our girls, on the other hand, are 5-9. They average 51 points a game. South Warren's girls have been pretty good this year. They're 10-5, but only averaging 60 points a game. Haven't really played that great of competition. And that 60 points is actually a little bit skewed because they had 3 games they won big. They had 3 games they scored 76, 79, and 78 in those games. Normally they only scored in the high 40s, low 50s. Once again, I think our girls have a great chance to win. And it's, I'd love to come out tonight and see a lot of fans there to cheer them on. I think if we can get a little excitement back, it would honestly help our boys for sure.
What did you say the girls' record was?
They're 5-9.
And I think we both feel like they're better than a 5-9
They're better than 5-9.
And the boys are better than their record. We both feel that way about both teams.
Yeah. Then the big game, we've kind of been talking about it for a couple weeks. It's a really big deal to Metcalfe County School, the Metcalfe County fans. It's Class A. That's going to take place on Monday night over in Glasgow. Glasgow girls are pretty good. They started off the season ranked in the state. Obviously going to be one of the better teams in the region, but they're 11-5, averaging 65 points a game. They started 9-2, but they've fallen off. They're 2-3 since then, but they still look really good. They've been playing some good competition, playing some Bowling Green schools. But like I said, averaging 65 points a game. Our girls are averaging a little over 50 points a game. Could be a little closer than what I would have thought it would have been at the beginning of the year, because our girls have improved greatly, and their girls have kind of fell off. The boys playing Glasgow. Glasgow boys are 8-7, averaging 66 points a game, which is about 20 points better than us. But once again, our boys have so much talent and potential that they could win a lot of games. I think that if they were to win this game, the way they would do it was to slow the ball game down, run the offense. There's no shot clock in high school basketball, and your best defense against a good team like that is to keep the ball and make sure you get a good shot. We have to make the high percentage shots. We don't want to throw up the first 3 we get unless it's a wide open, nice screen 4-3. Hit our free throws and limit our turnovers. I know that David will have a good good plays drawn up for them, a way to get around some of their quickness and maybe set some screens and get some open shots. I'll be there and hopefully they'll do all right.
I mean, no matter how good Glasgow is, which obviously the boys and girls are both really good, it would be hard to go play Class A at Glasgow and beat Glasgow. But I don't think the fans realize how much impact they have on a game. Maybe more so in high school basketball than any other level.
Sport. I agree. 100%.
So, I mean, the best thing that anybody listening to this and any of the fans in Metcalfe County can do is not only show up, but show up and show emotion throughout the game.
I agree.
I really feel like that could impact the game.
I agree. There were a couple times we had a lead late in the game. Like a 4-point lead with a couple minutes left. Dead silence. I'm not knocking the fans. I mean, I know people got things to do. People are tired. They worked all day, but those boys are busting their butts. Let's give a little love tonight. Get out there and cheer them on. And like I said, we upset in the close game, I'll be on the floor.
Man, I sure hope they win because I want to see that. Well, shifting away, I guess, from local sports a little bit back to the NFL and not necessarily the playoffs, but the draft, which will be soon enough, be here before we know it. There was news this week. Mel Kiper put Johnny Manziel first overall going to Houston, and he said that he talked to some executives around the league, and that's what it kind of led to him putting him there. What do you think about that? I mean, obviously we've touched on this a couple weeks now. But
listen, when I first started thinking about Johnny Manziel going to the NFL, I thought that Houston would be a good place for him to go. I thought that he had Texas roots, been a Texas kid his whole life. Houston struggled. They need someone to come in there, give them a spark. They have such a good, talented team. They have such a great defense, great line, good weapons around them. They need a quarterback. Then Lucas called in. Got me thinking about if they took Clowney and then they get Taj Boyd.
Yeah.
Look at that combination. If that could happen, that's the best place. That's the best thing. I know what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say, so just go ahead and say it.
Well, I've said it time and time again. I think Bridgewater is the better fit for Houston, but I think Johnny Manziel, and some people saying Johnny Manziel would go to Cleveland, which means that Jacksonville would pass on him, which I just can't imagine them doing because I believe he is, in a sense, could be the savior of Jacksonville. I believe he is the only player.
Tebow.
Maybe, but if you're giving out 2 beers a game, you probably don't want Tebow as your quarterback. So I just feel like, he's the only shot that Jacksonville has at being there in 3 years. If he comes in, he succeeds. He sells tickets. He sells jerseys. He's already got the nickname. We know he can run to throw. He's going to have to do that with the line they got there.
And here's another thing that maybe it's not getting any kind of notice, but I think it should. Jacksonville, if they don't get people in their stadium, they don't win a few games in the next couple of years, they're not going to be a team in Jacksonville.
No,
that team is going to go to probably Los Angeles.
Las Vegas, always wanting a team out there.
It's not going to be in Jacksonville. I'm sure people mention that. We haven't heard a lot of talk about it, so that's something you're getting here. If they pass on Manziel, even if they get Manziel and they're still terrible, they get people there.
I can't imagine Manziel getting passed by Houston and Jacksonville not taking him.
Yeah.
I mean, if they pass on him, then they should go somewhere else. They should have new ownership, new GM, new coach. Get rid of all of them.
Here's the thing, though. We've still got a lot of time left before the draft. We still got the combines coming up, and that's where people are made and broken is in the combines. Think about Russell Wilson.
Yeah, not
Russell
necessarily.
Wilson wasn't supposed to go till the 4th round. He got in the combines. A couple of people liked him, said he was short, but he was the best athletic quarterback. Look what he's doing now. So we don't know what's going to happen.
But I feel like sometimes criticism at the combine is not necessarily fair criticism. Like some of the measurements that they use to judge players.
Yeah, in another sense, looking at that, imagine what Tom Brady and Peyton Manning did at the combine.
Right.
I don't think that they. I don't know. I don't remember. But I doubt they lit it up because they're both slow.
Yeah.
Neither one of them can jump. I doubt any of them could bench press me. But yet they can sling it.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of the draft, if Jameis Winston was in this year's draft, where do you think he goes? You think he goes number 1 overall?
I think he goes to Houston. Yep.
No doubt.
I'm trying to think if we're just moving Jameis Winston up, we're moving his whole draft class up.
No, just Jameis Winston. Just Jameis Winston. He's assumed that he's been there 2 years.
An extra year.
Yeah.
If Jacksonville, if Houston is committed to picking up a quarterback in this draft,
You got to think they go
they
Winston
would
over
go with
Bridgewater.
Winston. If they were committed to picking up a quarterback,
Especially if they were
rather than a lineman.
right, and you assume that they want that kind of quarterback
Right.
that can run to throw, but doesn't necessarily run to run.
Right.
More of a pocket passer.
I agree.
Which I'm not. Once again, I'm not saying Johnny Manziel's not a good pocket passer. I'm just saying that I think Bridgewater and Winston are better. But yeah, I mean, I think you gotta assume that Winston goes one, and I believe that actually hurts Bridgewater because I
agree.
believe that
Manziel still go too.
yeah, and then the other quarterback, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, played for
Bortles?
Yeah, I think he probably goes before Bridgewater in that scenario.
What do you think about Bortles? Would he go number 2 if
See,
Manziel goes number 1? Would he go 2?
yes, yeah,
I agree.
And a lot of people think that the Jaguars would take him number 2
Anyway,
over Manziel, which I think is, I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying I think Manziel's probably better.
I agree.
I mean, they all have a chance to be very great quarterbacks in the NFL. Of course, where they get drafted hurts or helps that stock.
I agree with you.
You got to assume whoever's going to the Browns probably has a less chance of being great than whoever goes
Yep.
to the Texans, no matter which quarterback it is. So,
Yeah, and
I mean,
You
where
know.
you get drafted has so much to do with how successful you
where
are in
you
the
go,
NFL.
not
Right.
what position you're drafted.
Right.
I think if
Right.
nothing else, the second and third rounders come
Right.
to training camp with a little something to prove. They have to work to get their spot. If you're a first round pick, and they've got that money tied up in you, they're giving you a spot. When you get drafted late, third round, fourth round, you busting your butt to get a spot. You got something to prove. I think your first year might be a little hotter than some of those big time first rounders.
Yeah. If we could, I just want to bring it back to local real quick. I know it's the off season, and we were going to have a guest today talk a little Cincinnati Reds, but he's unable to make it today. I'm just going to go over a couple headlines from the Reds off season so far. As we know, it's arbitration time. People filing for arbitration. People trying to get deals done before they get
Right.
there, hopefully paying them less money. The Reds had 5 players up for arbitration this offseason. They had Sam LeCure and Alfred Simon, who are both relief pitchers. Then you had Chapman, who of course is their closer, and Bailey and Leake, who are both starters. And for those who are not familiar, Chapman, Bailey, and Leake are really the big 3 of those 5. Chapman, one of the best closers, arguably, in the game, throwing 105, 104 miles per hour.
LeClure with one of the best mustaches in the game.
Yeah, that's true, and he's really stepped up. I mean, he got a multi-year deal before they got to arbitration. Him and Simon have both signed, so they won't make it to arbitration. But you've got to thank Bailey, who's thrown 2 no-hitters now, and who has potential out of this world if everything was to ever fall in place. Could make a lot of money.
And I don't think they would let Chapman go. I just don't think that they would let him go.
It's hard to say. I mean, Bailey has filed for 11.6, and the Reds countered with 8.7, which is really a huge difference.
Yeah.
You really don't see a $3 million gap like that. Chapman's is a little closer. He filed for 5.4, and the Reds offered 4.6. The interesting thing about this Bailey arbitration file is that Jocketty came out yesterday before these numbers were filed last night and said that him and Bailey were close to a contract negotiation yesterday.
Before the numbers came out.
Right. So it's hard to believe that they were sitting in this room really close together, and then the numbers come out and it's 11.6 and 8.7 one way. You got to assume, though, that Bailey probably gets somewhere around 10 and Chapman then ends up somewhere around 5, just cutting the middle
I
of
think
them.
Chapman is not asking for a stupid amount.
No.
I think that's right at
That's
it.
pretty fair. And, I mean, with Bailey and his potential, and, I mean, there's rumors, he's not a fan of Cincinnati, and after this summer, or after next summer and fall, he's gone. And you got to assume that he's going to be playing for the New York Yankees. Something else I wanted to touch on. Well, yeah, you're right. If something that's really helping, Daniel has brought up a good point. Something that's really helping Bailey in that 11.6
Yep.
figure, and which is really, really, assuming that he goes out and even wins 15 games this year, and then he's up for free agency next season.
Yep.
That's really going to help him is Kershaw signing for 7 years and $215 million.
$215 million.
Over $30 million a year,
That's
which is
like $1.5 million a win.
yeah.
that he's
It's
gonna
just
get.
And I mean, if you're the Dodgers and you can pay somebody that much money to win what you know is going to be 20 games a year,
Yep.
then I mean, my hat's off to him for doing it. But you got to think, if Bailey is impressive this year, I just don't know that the Reds, being a smaller market team, had the money to go out and keep him as opposed to the Yankees or Boston gaining him. But something else that's happened this offseason I just want to touch on real fast. For those who didn't know, Dusty Baker was fired as the manager of the Reds, and they hired former pitching coach Brian Price, who I think is an excellent hire. Everybody in the organization seems to be on board, seems to like him. One of the things that you're really going to have to watch this season, though, is there's been an issue that has evolved with Brandon Phillips,
Yep.
who the past 5 years has really been one of the top 5 second basemen in the game. He's put up the offensive numbers. He can hit anywhere in the lineup, and he's been really good defensively. But what we have seen is a small decline in both of those. And when you have 4 years remaining on your contract, it's scary to see a decline in those so early in the contract.
Yeah, I agree with you. For those of you who don't know us personally, I'm a big Braves fan. We're having the same issue with Dan Uggla. Signed him to a big contract at second base, was one of the top performing second basemen. He didn't even make it to the postseason. We sent him down. I can't imagine we want to keep him.
Yeah.
I really, really think that we need to go after Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, Phillips would be an upgrade for y'all.
I'm ready to get rid of Dan Uggla. I loved him when he came in. I just don't think the relationship's there anymore. And I'm all for going after Brandon Phillips because we know he wanted to leave. He tried to get New York to sign him.
Phillips was assumingly gone. We signed Skip Schumacher. We already had Hanrahan on the roster, two kind of utility infielder guys that we had assumed were going to play a duo role in second base.
Right.
And then it comes out that they tried to trade him to New York and it fell through. And then he kind of contacted New York on his own and said, "Hey, whatever it takes, y'all get me out of here." And it fell through again. And you know, something that we saw that wasn't really touched on nationally in the middle of the year last year, Brandon Phillips was being interviewed by Trent Rosecrans, who is a beat writer in Cincinnati. Really standout guy. I've had conversations with him before on Twitter. And basically he asked him why he was having problems getting on base, and he throws out some vulgarity at him, calling him fat. And all the time, Dusty Baker's sitting from me to you in the room watching this, and he just laughs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to think hiring Brian Price and getting rid of Dusty was a good move. And if that's the attitude Phillips is going to be bringing to the team with his decline, I mean, you got to think getting him out of there wouldn't be a bad idea.
I agree. The relationship's just gone down south the past 2 years. We know that. Listen, Phillips is one of the diehard Reds fans. Like he got in a fight with the Cardinals.
And a lot of fans before this year, I mean, loved him. He was the center of social media and everything else involving the fans. I mean, it's a story that you're going to have to watch develop throughout the season. I believe if he brings that attitude and that decline this year, it really hurts the Red chances. But if he can just keep it together, I believe that they have a shot at being a contender. But like I said, he could cause it all to fall apart.
Right. We've been talking about the Reds. We touched on Clayton Kershaw. I think that this is a lot bigger story than we're making it out to be. Now, we know that he's going to go win 20 games next year. The average salary for a starting pitcher in the major leagues, $3.1 million a year. He's getting a little over $30 million a year. But let me tell you this. I'm not completely against it. We saw during the late 90s, early 2000s, and even today was, to some extent, huge salaries for offensive players. We're starting to now understand just how important those pitchers are. They're getting their money. Now, they might only pitch one game a week, might pitch twice a week. Every 5 games they're going to be pitching. But they have more control and more effect on the game than any one pitcher. They don't rely on anyone else. And they might not even need a defensive player with them. And after the steroid era is kind of come and gone, we're starting to see everything swing back to where the pitchers are the big stars, not the big hitters.
Yeah, and one thing I said earlier, as soon as the offseason began real fast, is that you're going to see a lot of I told somebody, you're going to see a lot of huge contracts this offseason because of all the TV contract money that's starting to come into every organization. But we're getting close to the end here, so we're going to have to make a little room for what to watch this weekend.
Dear my reading glasses, it's time for what to want.
What do you have for us this weekend, Dan?
First thing I want you to watch this weekend, I want you to come out tonight and watch the girls play. I want you to watch Jordan Samuels. I want to give her a shout out and tell her big congratulations. Just entered the 1,000-point club in Metcalfe County. Big feat. She's becoming a great ball handler. She's actually been able to bring the ball up the court some. And we've got another big girl inside, Mackenzie Coleman, who's playing outstanding, which is let Jordan go back into her more natural role of being a guard. Being able to shoot the ball. She can jump out of the gym. We need her to be good and find Mackenzie down low for a little inside-out game. Back to Jordan or with the shots inside to win that game tonight and to win Monday against Glasgow. Stand a chance against them. Second thing I want you to watch, I touched on for 2 weeks. I really like him a lot. I really like the way he's playing this year. Alex Poitras. Comes in and brings an intensity he was unable to bring as a full-time starter. Did you see the dunk he had against Arkansas?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, nasty, nastiest dunk I've seen in NCAA, and he can jump so high. When the game's on the line, he can put out. I think he's good coming off the bench. A guy you want to sub in towards the end of the game and get you quality minutes, win a game. Maybe not a starter, not going to put up the numbers that we see Randall and Young putting up. But his 10 points in 20 minutes or so is going to be the most important as to whether or not we win or lose. The rest of our games come in the SEC.
Yeah. Just want to touch on it again. Talked about it in the outdoor section. If you have anything outdoor related, be sure to send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. We'll get it up. We'll talk about it on here, get you out there. People will be able to see it on YouTube. We'll figure out how to get it on there. Also, keep the questions, comments coming on Facebook and Twitter throughout the week.
And we try to interact with you when you have them on the week. If you get us a really good question, we don't answer it because we're going to talk about it on the show.
That's right.
But we'll try and shoot you back as many answers as we can get. Thanks for spreading the word. Thanks for getting us out there. We're getting a lot of listens.
Also, don't forget to vote on the Facebook poll next week. I'd like to see a lot of action on it. What was the final results on it? Question was, whose career would you rather have, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady?
75-25 for Peyton Manning.
Yeah, so it looks like most people are in agreement with us. They would rather have Peyton Manning's career than Tom Brady's. We'll get another one up for next week. Be sure to vote on that. Be sure to check us out here on Spreaker. You'll also be able to watch the show on YouTube after this, all 4 segments with video. So be sure to check that out as well.
Yep. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for sticking around for 3 weeks and supporting us. I'm Daniel Bragg.
I'm TJ.
You watch the TD show. Thank you.